Okay, another very exciting new toy for me in my little electronics hobby. Finally got a Hakko 808. I think you call it Hakko. I've heard it called Hakko, but that just doesn't make sense. This is one of those things that completely changes the way you do things, and you wonder how you even survived without it before. Um, it's just a desoldering gun. These are desoldering pumps right here. This is what I started with right here. It's just a really cheap, crappy Chinese desoldering tool. I used it for quite a while. It works okay for occasional use. What I like about them is I can hold them in one hand and actuate it and trigger it with just one finger. You know, it's not as easy as pushing a button, of course, but it worked in the beginning. I desoldered a lot of NES CPU, PPUs, and then I started getting into NES cartridge reproductions like this. So I was taking these mask ROMs off, so that takes a lot of effort. So I started looking at this thing, and I noticed that the plastic on the body right here on both sides was cracking, and that's what holds the plunger and spring and everything in there. And I had problems with the shaft bending. It's just folded over metal. And I had problems with the cap coming off of the plunger rod. And I also had problems with the white plastic just getting nicked and generally messed up from all the pins on the ROMs or CPU, PPU, whatever. So I was shaving that back, and I think it was also too big in the beginning or whatever to fit between two pins, so I had to shave it to a conical shape. It is fairly easy to clean since it'll come apart like that, but the spring is in the solder area, so it also gets dirty. But I wanted to replace this, and at the time I really didn't know about the Hakko. So, the other thing is they have this plastic shield right here that I had to cut off. Otherwise I couldn't push it down with my finger and trigger it without having to rotate it just because of that damn shield. So then I got one that it's also very, very cheap, but it has an aluminum body and a solid plunger shaft. Just a little bit better made. I've never had any problems with the plunger cap coming off. It's a little harder to clean, but you can get it cleaner than this blue one. Basically, you just keep pushing, and it'll actually push the cap off the end. I didn't know that for a long time. I was using pliers to pull them off. At first I thought it twisted off and screwed off. Nope, it just pushes off and gives you good access to all the innards right there for easy cleaning. Same problem with the nozzle tip though. I had to shape it to a cone shape, and it gets all messed up, and it doesn't take heat very well. It also had the stupid shield up here that kept me from doing a one-handed thing. So I had to cut that off. Oh, and the big thing was the O-ring right here. This is basically what creates vacuum in there whenever it moves in the cylinder. Well, it was too damn big, and it would actually drag in the cylinder too much. So when you hit the button, it didn't just click, pop. It would actually drag a little bit as it come out. It was crazy. So I went in there and I thought, well, it's just dirty. Well, it wasn't dirty. This O-ring was dragging, so I actually cut the O-ring like that and just took just a little chunk out of it and put it back on there. Worked 100 times better. I've been using it like that for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months now. It works, and it still gets, great suction. Never have any problems with it. It's a little bit harder to actuate with one finger than the blue one, you know, but I'm almost sure it was less than $5 shipped from China, of course. But if you're just going to do occasional use desoldering, one of those two is fine. This is a name brand. It's a Soldapult model DS017LS. This thing is a monster. I got this with my JBC soldering iron. There was just it was a lot of various stuff, and I have never used this thing. It's too insane. I definitely cannot actuate it with one hand. So if I'm holding soldering iron and trying to, you know, actuate and trigger it, I mean, I was actually hitting the end, you know, like up against my body or against the table or whatever. And it's crazy because the plunger actuator, I guess you would say, it comes back every time. So I thought it was broke. I didn't think it was working because it would just do this, and then I hit the trigger. I don't know if you can see that in there, but there's a metal shaft in there. See, watch it come out. Yeah. So it actuates differently. And I'm not real impressed with the suction, but of course I haven't had this apart to clean it either. But I am impressed with the nozzle tip up here. I think it's made of a better quality material, and it probably would last a lot longer. It would, you know, hold up to the heat and abrasion and stuff. But after having this thing, oh, if you're going to do any amount of desoldering, this is the way to go. I'm going to plug it in here and let it heat up and show you how easy it is. Okay, I plugged it in and I held the tip up against a pin, and it took 30 seconds to heat up. Some of the pins, especially on Nintendo boards, do not have thermal reliefs around ground or power pins, so you have to hold it on there just a little bit longer to make sure it's hot. But that's it. I just desoldered probably a power pin on one of the ROMs. Hold it down, hit the button, move to the next. It's just that simple. I can't believe it. All that time I spent with them manual ones. My lord. Now I waited and bought a used one, but it was ready to go out of the box. Wasn't missing anything, and I paid right at $140. And I think you can actually get them, and I'm talking about on eBay, I think you can actually get them for about $180 shipped, brand new with all the stuff. I mean, mine had a case, but it was all broken and missing everything except for like a cleaning rod. So I mean, this is my first day with it, so I don't know how to clean it yet. I don't, you know, proper operation. I don't have a manual, none of that stuff. Okay, so that was a 28-pin mask ROM on an NROM NES board, and it took nothing. It took no effort. I mean, just what was I thinking? I should have had one of these forever ago. So there you go. If you do a lot of desoldering, don't waste any time getting one of these. Seriously.